Good morning, Sir Maarten. What's up? December 19th, 2022. This year has just flown by. Anybody would have said the year would have passed so fast, and I tell them absolutely not. But it is what it is. So let me hold on here. Let me see if we are on this time. Oh, yes, we are on. So we good to go. Good to see that I got on the second time fast and not too long. But we have some things to discuss today. I listened carefully to the Prime Minister on Wednesday during the GB meeting, explaining the position of St. Maarten, which is that we still need to review everything based on the CARICOM 10 steps when it comes to taking and accepting an apology and the reparations for slavery for our country. And I wholeheartedly understand that. We have not done too much on that. A committee is being appointed to review all of these things. What caught my attention, though, is that also in one of the newspaper medias, I don't know if it was in the blogs or if it was in the Daily Herald, there was this write-up about the Prime Minister says there can be no apology when the conditions that were placed, the 12.5%, the 25%, and even the top income earners, which they made law now that can't change anymore unless the governor signs off to change that law, they must be removed before we can have a discussion. But those laws have nothing to do with slavery. Those laws have to do with liquidity that we requested from the people, the Dutch, to be very specific, to ensure that our country would have survived the pandemic. The trust fund monies were a gift to us to rebuild our country under conditions. And because they didn't trust us as government, they put it through the trust fund via the World Bank, and they have realized they made a mistake and they accepted that one. But the contracts were already signed, the monies were paid. So to put the two together is utter nonsense. Look, if you want to do something good, Madam Prime Minister, do like what Curacao and Aruba are doing right now. They have engaged with the Dutch and they have said, listen, this is what we're doing. Not what you are going to allow us to do. This is what we're doing. In Aruba, they cut 5 or 6% already from the 12.6, and the other half is coming now. In Curacao, I think they turned back. If I'm not mistaken, they turned back on the salaries of the ministers and the senators, and the civil servants are to follow now. Again, if I am correct, this is what's going down. Here we talking about tying that to the apology. That's utter nonsense. It might look like a good political stunt, but it is stupidity. Because the two don't have nothing to do with each other. And we shouldn't try to make them become part of each other. Because slavery has absolutely nothing to do with these conditions. Bad government has a lot to do with it. Political ego and rhetoric has a lot to do with it. But not, again, let me state clearly, not what's happening now, that we are playing this game of hide and seek with the civil servants. Geert Wilders made a harsh statement in the Netherlands a few days ago, and he put it on Twitter, and it goes like this: go work for your money instead of demanding money from us for something that no Dutchman who lives now is responsible for, and that none of you experienced yourself. No money, no excuses. You don't deserve it. Whiners, that's what you are. Hashtag history of slavery. Now, I don't agree with the tweet on its own. There's a lot to be said about slavery. There's a lot to be said about the role of the Netherlands. There's a lot to be said about the role of the kingdom itself, the royal house, if there was nothing to be said, the king would not have asked for an investigation to take place to see what the role was of the royal house. So there is more than meets the eye. The apology should be seen totally separate from the reparations, in my humble opinion, because the two don't go hand in hand. Reparations will go a long way in getting the countries back on track. An apology is a symbolic something that will have absolutely no impact on our economy, no impact on our livelihoods, no impact on our equality. None of the three. Don't fool yourself because it ain't true. These are realities that we must deal with. And why I say we must deal with it is because we have gone through a mediocre year in 2022. A mediocre year in how we run this country. 2023 cannot become a carbon copy. And I'll discuss what we can expect in 2023. Now, again, I believe if the Prime Minister wants to make an impact, don't keep a celebration. Turn back to 12.5%. I think then you will make an impact to the civil servants. I truly believe that. Now, when I look at the traffic jams, because remember, the traffic jams was the departure point of the Minister of Justice to shoot down all the truckers on the road and make sure all things are going to happen. Now, I don't know if anybody goes to the Simpson Bay, Cool Bay area around 3 o'clock. Because at that point in time, there would have been no heavy equipment stoppage on the road. They would have been running. It is so gridlocked that you can spend an hour and a half in traffic coming up easily. But that is not being tackled. Nobody is saying, how can I deal with this? Now, why do we have this gridlock? That we have too much cars? That's factual. That we have a horrible public transportation system? That's factual. That our roads are full of holes and cars constantly slow down, creating a traffic jam? That too is factual. But what is not factual, because I can't prove it yet, is how many police officers we have available to help with traffic. How much vehicles they have available to help with traffic. Because if we don't put traffic police on the road in certain areas to pull the traffic, what's happening now will continue and will only increase as we go through the high season. While we might be in the regular high season, I don't think Maarten has seen the best of the season yet. The best of the season is to come. And that means that we will have much more cars on the road and a much more traffic gridlock on the road. These are things we have to look at, because I believe that the government is asleep and hasn't realized up until this moment that high season has started. Because if they would have realized that, they would have cleaned up this island. Yes, I said it. Clean it up. This is a tourism-based economy. And you drive up Colby Hill, the shrugs are 1.5 meters, 2 meters high, and nobody cutting, nobody cleaning. You know why? Because there are no contracts. Contracts expired since the 31st of October 2022. A month and a half later, we still ain't doing nothing. It's only when we start to cry out and people start to scream and take pictures and put it on Facebook, the reactiveness of government kicks in. And then they run a contractor here, go clean that, and you go clean that, and you go clean that. But I'll come back to this district cleaning just now. Because the minister, they're talking a lot of crazy things. We're going to come back to it just now. Because I don't play political games with people's money. If he wants to do that, you go right ahead, brother. I'm going to set the record straight just now. Let me congratulate Mrs. Mincha Brown, Mrs. Peggy Ann Brandon, and Mrs. Charlize Phillips for being elected or being re-elected to the Board of Chamber of Commerce. You know, it was, I went there myself. And I didn't like what I saw. On one side, you had all the locals standing, and in a corner, you had the Indians standing. And I must highlight it because it shows the division in this country. It was so clear. All the Indians had to go first, register by a place, outside by a gentleman, and then go in to vote. So they could have seen who came to vote. That's what we're doing. I was there, I saw it myself. Nothing against nobody. But if we cannot be one, then why do we pretend to be one? I think we got to do better than this because it's horrible. Inspectorate of Taxes has been holding controls in Phillipsburg, Simpson Bay, Cold Bay regarding the opening hours, noise pollution, and other violations, and approximately 6,000 guilders, has been given on fines. Again, I love the initiative. I love what they're doing. It needs to be done. But noise pollution, especially that, is such a serious issue in St. Maarten. Not only in Simpson Bay, not only in the Cooper-Coy area, where they control most, but also in Cul-de-Sac, St. Peter's, Sucker Garden, Dutch Quarter, Middleridge. People live there. People have to sleep at night when bars are blazing till 2 o'clock in the morning. But nobody goes there. Nobody stops it. I know of a case specifically of the skating ring. And for the love of money, nothing is done. Every time it's a warning, it's this. I was there, I stopped going there. I can't have a conversation inside because the music is that loud inside. It can't be good for your ears. Yet nobody worries about it. Nobody does anything. Because when you tell them something, yeah, we're going to check. Oh, we didn't catch them. Fine. Then go a time without telling them you're coming. Then you're going to catch them. Catch the message? I think we need to stop doing what we're doing. And I don't want to be a hypocrite and start blaming the civil servantry for everything. I come from there. I know how it works inside. I know you go to do something and you're stopped. Because you mightn't have the overall picture be the same. But bottom line is, if it's wrong, just correct it and move on. And sure, you'll make some enemies. I have made many. But I'm okay with that. The Mullet Bay inquiry, the development of the outright sale is something that has gotten a lot of attention over the last 2-3 years. Then it seemed to have gone dormant. Then I understood they were going to have a meeting, or they were going to come together because it's all closed door yet and it's not public, and they were going to have an evaluation. But where is it? What is it? Because my concern is this. In the newspaper, it was either they're going to try to sell it or they're going to try to develop it. St. Maarten has a golden opportunity now. A golden opportunity to do a few things. The property is about 70-80 million. Something like that. So St. Maarten can maybe discuss with the central bank, who has the curriculum over that property right now, that they would like to buy it or find a developer for it and ensure that the pride of the Caribbean, the pride of St. Maarten, the flagship of the hotels we have had here, can come back. It most probably won't come back in the style it used to be. It will come back in different high-rises, maybe of 10, 15 floors, because that's the industry today. But the golf course can be reactivated, and I think they can do so much in Mullet Bay with brilliant restaurants. But again, this is something that we should look at. The other important aspect is to create beach access across the whole beach. Proper parking. Government-owned parking. What am I trying to say? Move the road that is going through Mullet Bay right now and floods from the towers right up to the entrance of Cooper-Coy. Every rainfall, move it. Bring it along the beach. Bring it along the seaside. So that when you reach Maho, you make a left and you go down along the coastline, and where Building 90 was, for those that understand what I'm talking about, you go back into Kupakoi. That way, you create beach access. You create hundreds of parkings. Families can go there. Tour buses can go there. The restaurants that are down on the beach can be serviced now by the public. You see, we got to learn to look at things different. Mullet Bay is one of the nicest beaches we have in St. Maarten, yet it cannot be exploited the way it should be by St. Maarteners. We have a handful of people that have a license down there. The problem is you can't get to certain parts of the beaches with a car, so everybody congregates in one side. That's what you call the local side, and then you have the rich side from the students that walk down from Kupakoi, from the medical school, and go to the beach on that side. But it should be accessible to all. Government, you have an opportunity of a lifetime now. Don't leave it pass and then say, you see, boy, we never had a chance. You have the chance. Because St. Maarten owns 22% of the central bank. St. Maarten's Minister of Finance can make an agreement and say, you know what? You hold on to my 1% tax I get every year for the next 4 or 5 years, or for the next 10 years, I want to make an agreement with you that I give you half of that or 25% of that until I paid up my tab. Make an agreement. Get mullet-based property into the coffers of government under certain specific conditions. Friends and families don't have to go look for a slice because there is none. It will be placed in a development agency that is owned by the government. And if they want to work with high-end hotels to build something like the Aruba government has done over the years, that's why they have so many name brand hotels in Aruba. The government of Aruba puts money into building the name brand hotels and gets operators in there. We seem not to understand that. That's how Aruba built its hotel industry. They put big money into their tourism. We don't do that, and we expect a miracle. I want to congratulate Suja for receiving the Spotlight Award for the Angel Alliance of South Carolina. And this has to do with his great work of over 30 years of uninterrupted work in the field of culture and education events, so well on the Dutch side as the French side. So you see, Suja, it does pay off. Recognition will be given. Maybe not by your own, but by others that have seen the great work. But I know your own has also recognized you a few times, so I'm happy that you got some international recognition. Congrats to La Samana, Belmont La Samana, for being here for 49 consecutive years as one of the most prestigious hotels on the island. I know you're on the French side, but we still consider you one of us. Thanks to Mr. Rude and Extra Tight. Once again, they did what they always do. They made Phillipsburg magical. They made the boardwalk magical. And on Saturday and Sunday, it was a great, great, great event. Many people turned out. I saw he had the young Rolling Tones on stage too. That was nice to see the boys them back there playing their music, and they brought Phillipsburg back to an era where I grew up, where things were so nice there. And you could have walked on the streets. Today we do it on the boardwalk, but you used to walk on Front Street. All the stores used to have their windows fixed up nicely, and you would go window shopping. I know Rude started this thing about 8 years ago when we had it on Front Street itself. Now we moved it to the boardwalk, and it was beautiful. But again, like I said, Phillipsburg was magical. It was nice. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much to Mr. Rude and his crew of Extra Tight that made it happen. Now, let me congratulate, I think, Argentina's biggest fan in St. Maarten, Tony Rogers. Tony is a die-hard Argentina fan. So yesterday he had double joy, because not only did Argentina win the World Cup, his under-17 team, the Attackers, took the trophy last night in the finals in French Quarter and became the under-17 division champions of Saint Maarten. Congrats, Tony. Hard work does pay off, my brother. And I know if there's one person with determination, I know that's you. So once again, congratulations. One love to that one. Now, it seems that the former district cleaners, until this day, haven't been paid. And the impression is being created that the former minister, Waver, and myself paid the contractors too much money in December 2019. Okay. Let me clear this thing up today publicly in this podcast. So, Minister, you can use this if you want to come at me. Because I don't play with cowards. You want to deal with me? Come deal with me like a man. I'm going to call you out on your nonsense. The national decree was signed on November 20th, 2019. That is just before the elections. The decree was retroactive to the 1st of November 2019. This decree was signed by the then Governor Holiday. There are a few things that we need to get clear. When the decree was signed on the 20th, the works didn't start yet in November. So there were 20 days that you will say, oh, but it didn't work. No. The minister, in collaboration with myself and the then SG, Mr. Brown, had a discussion about this. And we said, let them bring in extra manpower, let them bring in extra machinery, and let's clean up the island so that Christmas 2019, the island will be looking good. High season was in full swing, and we wanted the place cleaned up. The people brought in extra manpower. They brought in extra equipment, and they started cleaning, they even cleaned trenches in certain areas for us. They worked for their money. When they were paid, you see, this is where ministers get stupid. When I pay a bill, that bill goes through finance, the finance ministry, and eventually the minister signs off those payments. If they don't read what's written, don't blame us. Because anybody could have read when the LB was signed, because it's stamped on top and it's a copy in the back. We always attach the copies of the LBs when we make contractual payments. Has always been so. But you are seeking an excuse not to pay the people, because you send them a letter stating that you're busy investigating and checking. Look, you want to investigate it? Go by your friend next door. Ask him if he signed those bills, yes or no. Because he was the Minister of Finance. All right? Let's not play no games. Go and pay the people their money. You all went Holland, spent a barrage of money to interview 6 people. I will not talk about GB yet and your implications in GB, because they're going to come out. So help my God, they're going to come out. You have gotten on the wrong side of me now. I never make things personal. I don't. But you are crying out for attention. You're going to get it. You're really going to get it. Because I'll tell you this much. You seem to forget that when these contracts went into effect, the NA government was in charge. Oh, you forgot that. The NA USP, independent member Chanel Brown Bill, was in charge. You know who appointed Minister Waver? Chanel Brown Bill did. The same one you're all walking around with now, holding a coalition of 8. You see, you got to learn to do your homework when you want to come and play in the big boys pool. You really got to do your homework, because you're going to get scrambled up. You're going to become scrambled eggs just now. Because you are under pressure. I know that. I know you know that the Ombudsman report for the garbage collection ain't gone. It ain't gone away yet. It's far from going away. You know who's looking at it right now. I know you have been tipped off. And that's why you're getting nervous. And you're looking for another scapegoat. But I ain't going to be your scapegoat. I am not going to be your scapegoat. You're going to have to give up one of those in your own office most probably. But don't worry. It is part of the political arena. I understand it. I hope you do also. I hope you understand who all was working in Beacon Hill during their boss's time with the boss's material. I just hope you understand that. I was saddened to read that civil servants got ill on the party that was organized for them, unfortunately. Now, I know the company very well. I know the gentleman that owns the company very well. I am saddened because these type of things can be a blow to any company. I know there was no intent there, and I will never point a finger and say, oh God, look what they do and why they do it. No, 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 no. I wish all those that were affected that evening all the best. I hope you all feel better. To my brother, I wish you all the best. And I read your article this morning and I sympathize with you with what happened because it's very unfortunate. Whenever you got ham, you know, you could call me. When you got your sauce, you know you could call me. I'm going to eat it to show them that all is well. Researchers find racism at BZ serious and worrisome. Racism is a common phenomenon at the Ministry of Home Affairs, according to a study. The findings are called serious and worrisome in the report. The official leadership of the ministry apologizes. Minister Wupke Hoekstra of Home Affairs put the following on Twitter. The exploratory report on racism within BZ, so it belongs to Zach and Home Affairs, is painful and confronting, especially since we advocate for justice internationally. What a number of colleagues in the department and the post worldwide have experienced is unacceptable, and this touches me deeply. Those are the signs of hypocrisy. Because you're pretending, because you're always talking about it, you're advocating this and you're advocating that. You advocate those things to get a seat in the United Nations Council. That's why you did some of those things. Because if you were genuinely concerned, you would have ensured that the people in Statia had their democracy, that the people in Bonaire would not be living under the poverty line when they are fully Dutch. So please, please, don't do that. You all know racism is a serious, serious problem in the Netherlands. That's also the birth of the Forum for the Democratie and the expansion of the PVV, because those are extreme right. There, Holland is for Holland, not for the rest of the world. And especially with what's going on these days in Holland, with all the people coming in there, the asielzoekers, people are refugees that are coming in there because of the war in Ukraine. People get frustrated because they don't have a house. The Netherlands needs to build 1 million homes because they are short 1 million. Now, they only got 18 million people living in Holland. And they need 1 million homes. That's because of the influx of people coming in all the time. Their own people don't have a home. Look, people that are working in home affairs, and they are from a bicultural background, they feel it. They feel it seriously. And this is the problem. When we talk about equality, one must try to understand what are we talking about. Because we want to apologize on this side of the mouth for slavery. Yet we are doing it on this side of the mouth. Because slavery was a form of racism, because they looked down at that color of the skin. They were not equal to the other color. You do it today in a different form. You give them money, yes, but you still degrade them. I'm not going to tie the two together. But please, don't come pretentiously telling me you want to apologize to me when you do not consider me equal to you, nor do you treat me equal to you. I was so happy that this report came out now, prior to the apology. And I know they're going to give an apology today. Most of them are going to be there talking about it. And some going to say, accept it. Others are going to say, don't accept it. And don't do this. I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to stay away from that. I have given you my opinion and how I feel. I believe as long as racism is up and running in the Netherlands and here in Sint Maarten and in other parts of the world, apologies are symbolic. They mean absolutely nothing. If the apology says, listen, let's see how we can build back your country, or how we can build it the way it should have been built prior to 2010, so that when you became autonomous, your country would have been able to function, then I think we can have a discussion. Sint Maarten was not ready in 2010. The Dutch knew it. The Dutch still let it go. So, you know, we can blame only the government. We can also blame just those that had an ego and wanted to pound their chest and say, I brought it home. Nobody brought home nothing. What we have right now is a bag of problems and very few solutions for that bag of problems. And as long as we don't go after finding solutions and being able to pay for the solutions, we're going to remain with that bag of problems. But it's clearly, at this point in time in 2020, that racism is still alive and kicking in the Netherlands. And the report has shown everything. So let's move on. In Curacao, and I am going to tie this into Sint Maarten, and I will be coming back on this specific topic in 2023. The minister in Curacao responsible for social and labor affairs, Mrs. Let me pick up her name, Minister Ruthmilda Larmini Cecilia, that's the party leader of the PNP and coalition member in Curacao. She wants to raise the minimum wage. Now, in Curacao, the minimum wage right now is 9 guilders and 62 cents. That's where we are going to now from the 884. We are going to 962 come January. Curacao is at 962 right now, and they were supposed to go to 10 guilders and 70 cents in 2 jumps. The Minister of Social Affairs says, no, absolutely not. We're not going to 10 guilders 70. We are going to 13 guilders and 67 cents. And the reason for that is that the SER calculated the livable wage. The livable wage for Curacao is based on a mother with 2 children working a 40-hour week. Her salary has to be 13 guilders and 67 cents per hour. If she doesn't earn that, she will be living in poverty. This is the SER's findings in Curacao. Curacao is much cheaper to live than Sint Maarten is. So, where I'm going with this is to indicate to you that the livable wage in Sint Maarten is going to be a problem. We know that from now. But the SER also told the minister in Curacao, listen, I understand what you're saying, but you cannot go from 9 guilders 62 to 13 guilders 67 because you will make the economy of Curacao collapse. The competitive position it holds, it will lose. For us, it's worse because we are only tourism based. Tourism, and this is where I want to discuss in 2023 much more in depth. Tourism is a low income earning sector. A lot of people that work in the tourism sector earn minimum wage. Restaurants, bars, hotels, even taxis, they don't cut it. They don't make it anymore. It's not like how it used to be. And this is something that we have to look at very, very carefully. You must remember the raise from 9 guilders 62 to 10 guilders and 70 cents, that is approximately an 11.2% raise. That's what that is. The minister does not agree with it and says we need to bring it up. The minimum wage, or the livable wage that she wants to now make the minimum wage in Curacao, the 13 guilders and 67 cents or $7.51, is higher than the best and is higher than even the Cayman Islands, which has the highest gross domestic product GDP. But there's a but. Everything has a but. Because when you only look at the livable wage or the minimum wage on its own, that is true. It is high. When you look at the other programs where there's support granted to those that need it better, then the livable wage can be a little lower. And that's where the SER was going to. The SER says, listen, I agree with you wholeheartedly that we need to do certain things and that people are living in a awkward position right now, in a below the poverty line place. And the minister says, in her view, it is intended to ensure that a part of the working population today who lives below the poverty line can benefit from the relative prosperity, and that by means of a minimum wage adjustment, the employment rate of economically inactive people can possibly be promoted. Basically, what she's trying to do is make all of those that are living in poverty come up and be able to have money to spend in the economy and live a normal life. That's what she's trying to do, to give them a fair chance and give them a share of the monies that are being generated. I think it's genuine. I think the problem is that the deterioration of the competitive position of Curacao can be significant, and this is something that has to be looked at carefully on how this can work. Now again, like I said, these are things that will have political consequences. She comes from the government. She comes from the coalition. She forms the coalition. So I'm sure it's going to get some traction. But if it can get tractions to pass, I don't know yet. What does this mean for St. Maarten? St. Maarten went from 8 guilders 84 to 9 guilders 62. So we are now reaching to where Curacao was for a few years already. And no pun intended to the minister or anybody else, but when we in St. Maarten got people come from Curacao to work, we gave them a 16.3 indexation on their salary. You know why? Because St. Maarten was more expensive. So it saddens me when I look at the minimum wage now becoming 9 guilders 62, when we know that a livable wage is going to be any place around 15, 16 guilders. We know that. And when the SER calculations come in, we will see that. And then we can say, okay, how do we go about this? How do we fix this? Because remember, the people that earn minimum wage don't pay into the tax system. They don't pay no wage tax. Yes, they pay into the social system, but they don't pay into the wage tax system. So the government still isn't getting any money from them. If it becomes 10 guilders, 11 guilders, 12 guilders, 30, minimum wage earners don't pay tax. So it's not going to affect the government's bottom line. The businesses are the ones that are going to feel this the hardest. Because the premiums, the social premiums, they are continuously going to have to be paid. And the employer has a share and the employee has a share. So that will continue. That will continue. So again, you know, When we look at St. Maarten's economy, and I want to turn it a minute into us now, we have a few things that we need to look at when we are dealing with the minimum wage. The type of industry we have is what fuels the minimum wage. Because the tourism industry is not the high-end industry we had in the 70s, early 80s. That is gone. That is in St. Bart's and Anguilla right now. We lost that, and we can try to get it back, but it's going to be a tough fight because those boys, they have it well embedded how to do it. They have it well embedded. We had it and we lost it. But there's nothing wrong with going at it again and trying to regain what it is. But tourism in general brings low-paying wages with it. So we need to diversify our economy if we want to get higher-paying jobs. The second problem we have is the amount of undocumented workers, which play a major role in the gray economy and which keeps the legal people from working. Now, the Ministry of Fiat is out there controlling, and that's why I was praising them, because this can have a very positive spin-off in this aspect. We saw what happened with the pandemic. We saw how many people had no money. Why didn't they have no money? Because they were not registered no place. And a lot of other people that were working in stores were being booked as minimum wage earners and being paid under the table, stealing from government, thus not paying government taxes. That's what the pandemic showed. Now, some of you might be saying, well, he got that kind of proof? Yes, that proof is there. That proof is there. You know how much people reached my SNV saying, but I didn't get paid enough? And then I said, no, but you're a minimum wage owner. Oh, absolutely not. I didn't get so much and so much, and then my bosses give me so much and so much. So you see, a lot of things are known. What we have to do sometimes is deal with it. And I'm not telling you go down there and kill the businessman, you know. But pull up his socks. Give him a warning. Tell him, we too know what you're doing. Our landfill, does it really have a future? You know, I spoke about formalizing the informal sector in the waste industry about 2-3 weeks ago. And I tried to look more at the aspect of recycling. Today I want to really look at the landfill and what this really means for this country. I heard people speaking about waste energy, alternative energies, and if we understand the electricity concession of back then, and if we understand the national energy policy from 2014, we would understand that what's being said right now is wasting people's time. I think a lot of things are not clear anymore what's happening in St. Maarten. You know, when I look at the World Bank's approach, I want to put this very eloquent, and I hear the numbers they are talking about, and we know they don't have the money. It only basically means that they are paving the way to have the country hook itself onto a supplier. And then the country cannot maneuver out of that because the World Bank was in that and money was put for that. So when they start working now on the landfill with their whole master plan for waste management, you're going to realize that they're going to tie this island to certain things. And the island going to end up paying that 85 million, not the World Bank, because that money isn't there. When we had a waste energy for 70 million free of charge, we played politics with it, and it lost its life. And you move on. I heard a gentleman a few days ago talking about a solar park that GB had agreed to since 2014, a 2 megawatt solar park. 8 years later, it's still being built. In the meantime, Sabre and Stacia, I think Sabre built 2 megawatts, Stacia built 4 megawatts already in solar plants. And we had an approved agreement since 2014 for 2 megawatt, and nothing has happened thus far. But again, let's go back and let's look at what's really happening with the waste in St. Maarten. A few days ago, we had a whole to-do that I put on Facebook where, look, they paid the contractors on the landfill, contractors shut down, tutus, meetings were held, contractors were paid all their money that they were owed a day or two later. The thing is, why must it reach to that stage? Why can't we do what needs to be done for the people correctly? We must understand that St. Maarten, because of its industrial, its economical activities, let me rephrase it, economical activities, recycling would have been critical for us because we use a lot of plastic, a lot of cardboard, a lot of glass, and a lot of aluminium. 4 critical things that we should have been easily able to take off of the landfill and hopefully get off of the island or reuse it ourselves. In the waste to energy that was to be built in St. Maarten, a few things were to be used. And I was happy that the Minister of Romy went to the Netherlands and went to look at the plant in Weert, because you know what was most important in there? The sludge. That the sludge is used in a waste to energy facility to burn. And they burn it because it's full of caloric value, just like plastics, just like all those tires you have on the dump there. That's all wasted energy. That's what it was all about. But you see, when you're dealing with politicians that have no clue about these type of things, but pretend to have a lot, like how they did in the GB meeting there, in the airport meeting, start talking, and I'm going to address it just now, start talking certain things, then you know that a bag of hot air is busting away on the floor of Parliament. Because they had no clue what they were talking about. Absolutely no clue. And that's the hurtful part. And this happened at the landfill too. And that's why I'm asking, do we have a future? Or is it eventually just going to be covered off nicely, put some coconut trees on it, and 25 years from now we make a football field? And our garbage problem remains the same. Because as long as we don't put a recycling plant to get garbage off of it, because you can't burn everything, and you don't want to bury anything, and it's a costly venture. So we're going to have to start charging. Nothing wrong with cruise ships bringing garbage to St. Maarten. Make them pay for it, and make them pay for it the right way. Because if they dump it in Miami, they pay big money for it. Why do you think the Caribbean islands are so liked by cruise ships? Because they can get rid of their products. Oil, sludge, garbage. They try to get rid of it here. They call it a one-stop shop. If they're home port in your country, you're tied to help them. In the other times, now they come up and say, listen, we want you to take our garbage because we got too much garbage. We have 700 and something ships coming here every year. If each ship drops 20 tons, you're talking about 14,000 tons of garbage. A tenth of what you do a year. That's just cruise ship. And that's if they drop one container of 20 tons. So again, it is a business. It's a good business. People don't understand garbage is a business. You just need to do it the right way. And St. Maarten, it has never been able to be done the right way, because when you are dealing with people that do not comprehend what it is, it's difficult to sell it. And garbage was never something that sold. It was never a pretty something. Politics in St. Maarten has always been about pretty things. Make things look nice. Not make things function. Make them look nice. We build so many things and we never put money for maintenance there. So after a while it deteriorates. Unfortunately, that's happening now with the landfill. We're going to put money into different things, but we're not going to put money in it to operate it properly. The budgets will need millions and millions and millions. Right now they spend millions on the landfill. When we asked to increase the budget, they told us no, from 2011. I was charged and said I took a bribe from the people on the landfill when they couldn't even make it with the money they were getting. Yet they were paying me hundreds of thousands according to the judge. When you want to put stupidity in a framework, I can show you how to do it. Because I've lived it now too often. But again, I believe if the minister wants to do anything for that landfill, he must right now have a material recovery facility, a MRF, built. The MRF doesn't need anything else. All the MRF does is it will create about 30 to 50 jobs, and you will go through major sorting. You can sort glass, you can sort cans, you can sort plastic, and you can sort cardboard, aluminium cans. All of these things you can sort. Even greenery, you can mulch it. Make mulch. Give it the green fingers. You don't have to give it to people. You don't have to sell it. Give it to them. But you can reuse it. And by reusing it, you're not filling the landfill. These things can be done. This operation was already prepared and planned back in 2016 under the then Minister Myers and taken over, I believe, by Minister Emmanuel and even Minister Waver. There were things there we would have brought in burners to burn certain things, and those air burners would not create the smoke that you're accustomed to. All of these things exist, all of these things are there, but we do nothing with them. So I honestly hope that we start to get some people back in the ministry that have understanding of the concept waste. You lost Lewis Brown. You lost Mark Williams. I went to Parliament. Right now you have a serious problem. So I understand that you depend totally on the NRPB and the World Bank, but they might not have your best interest, the country's best interest at heart, but more their interest at heart and their success rate on their program, which is not necessarily in the best interest of a country. Because when you put $14 million available to tell people, here, take this money, go build your house in Santo Domingo, you can come back here and go on social welfare, I think you got a serious, serious problem in talking about fixing this country. Because that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. But again, like I said, recycling is the way to go, if you like it or not. There isn't much recyclables leaving this country right now, other than a specific group that is sending it to a market in Santo Domingo, I believe it was. Other than that, it ain't happening. So we should look at what's happening, talk to the port, see if the port can be a part and parcel of this, like how it used to be prior to 2019, when 150 containers used to leave St. Maarten every year filled with recyclables. Today we ain't even got them. So again, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I don't want to, go all bananas today on waste because nothing will change. PJIA, what's really happening there? On Friday, I listened to the meeting. And I decided, let me take my time, let me really listen to this meeting, let me really see what's going on. Because on Wednesday, there was a tour for the media. And that was a whirlwind blitz tour after there were some radio personalities talking about the airport situation, and some of them had gotten a tour, and it created I wouldn't say a frenzy, but a question by the media, but why not us? Why only them? Especially if you give them a contract for 15 episodes. Why would we not be able to go and see down there what's happening and how we can deal with it? And they were all invited down, and they went. Friday we go to the meeting, and you hear there was a discussion about noise. Yeah, that was what it was. It was noise, and then you start to hear the discussion about, but a little bit of noise, and oh, people are gonna go crazy. And I'm saying to myself, but wait a minute. Wait. There are a few things that I didn't understand. They are too good. Noise pollution. This government right now have the Ministry of Theatre out there doing noise pollution. Noise pollution means that you're taking people out of their element when they're working, sleeping, resting, whatever. So yes, if you're drilling for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, then you stop for 5, and then you start to drill again. It is not normal for a human being to function like that. That's what noise pollution is. Clearly, some of them did not understand that. And the argument became about all kind of other things and about Nazi tactics. And this is crazy. Noise pollution is the discussion. Work safety. That's why they put a helmet on everybody. They did this, they did. What I am sure the fellas working up there have on ear caps when they're drilling away, because it's called work safety. And that's what the Ministry of VSA does. They can go down there and check if the people are working in accordance. Because the shoes that they give them is steel shanked underneath, a steel toe. Why? Because they can step on things and cut themselves. So you can clearly see that there is a work safety protocol in place. And if noise pollution is not part of the safety protocol, the work safety protocol, then you have a problem. Because then it's not good. Then it's a convenience. And that's what I didn't understand. But what was also very interesting on Friday in that meeting was the role of the chairman. It's clearly that on Friday, the chairman, MP Bijlani, was challenged. He was challenged to see if he understands his role. And he proved to St. Maarten, beyond a shadow of a doubt, he has no damn clue what he has to do. The good man sat there and was the puppet of MP Maarten. Point of order was called. He has to address the point of order. He allows MP Maarten to ask him, did you give the point of order? Did you give the point? Oh, I will not. What kind of nonsense is this? We make ourselves the laughing stock of the kingdom. We can't be serious. Look, everybody learns as we go along. But you don't only do it once, you do it twice. In the same meeting. The difference is, MP Emmanuel opted not to accept his nonsense. And a shouting match started, so he closed the meeting. To only open it back up a little later for MP Maarten to start apologizing that he didn't use this word, he misunderstood. A point of order, just give the point of order. We go in there, we get all kind of classes, and you learn all kind of things, and then you go. You sit to do it, and you do the opposite. Because you're guided by the others. You're the chair. You need to be impartial, sir. You clearly didn't get that lesson. They fired MP Maarten as chair because they found she was too impartial and she wasn't protecting the coalition. And here you come and you make a complete mockery out of the system on Friday. It is truly, truly remarkable that you all don't see this. Politics can go low, but we have passed low now. You all are like a set of hogs mud diving. I'm just trying to get deeper and deeper down in the mud. I don't know what else to say. There were a lot of questions asked by MP Maarten, Emmanuel, and MP Westcott Williams. And I'm sure when those answers are given, because the minister was, in my opinion, frank. He was direct. He was as clear as he could be. I didn't appreciate one statement. He says, look, when I get answers, they come from the ministries, so I can't be responsible. Yes, you are. Minister, you are responsible at all times for any answer you give on that floor. You can't tell me that, but that's what they told me. No. You're responsible to give answers to Parliament. Parliament doesn't call the airport. Parliament calls you. Parliament doesn't call the board of directors. Parliament calls you as minister. So whatever you answer, you're responsible for. You have to make sure that those that are responsible to you, like the supervisory board of directors of holding, that those answers, if they're not correct, those that gave them to you are dealt with correctly. This is fundamental. This is something that I believe was told to us. We can't question third parties other than the government. And when the government tell you, yeah, but I can't answer you because I don't know if the answer is good, but then we are such jokers. And I know that's not the intent. But again, I totally believe that we got to get that cleared up and ironed out, because nobody should be hiding behind nothing. At least the truth was established on Friday in the PJIA meeting. And that is that the World Bank will have an evaluation/investigation carried out once the project is done, clearly indicating that things went wrong to a big degree. Because if it was just a little small something, they wouldn't have wanted an investigation or an evaluation. They don't want to stagnate the project right now, but they're going to look at it and look at it very seriously. But again, it was also after I brought up all the garbage dumping that they were doing in Coal Bay. They fly down here to see what's happening to the environmental officer that they have stationed down here, or that comes down here every so often, drinks some coffee and jumps back on a plane and collects a huge per diem. Today, I was at the airport yesterday. They got up a fence, a high fence now, in front of the terminal, all enclosed with dark cloth, and behind there full of debris. See, they can't get rid of the debris fast enough now, so now they're just piling it up in front of the airport. I saw that yesterday. So, a $10 million mistake was made. They called it an oversight, but it's a mistake. It was in the tender documents, it was in the contracts, they signed for it, and nobody, absolutely nobody, is being held accountable. Let that be a civil servant. For 10 million, most probably they'll kick down his door, arrest him, say he cut a deal with somebody, or whatever. I can recall there was a person working at one of our funds, made a mistake. The man was crucified. The man had to leave. They used that same mistake against the good man not to get the job at a company here in Maarten, the big company that was looking for workers. And at the airport, everybody sitting down as if nothing bad happened. $10 million seems to be A-OK. Now, Andrew Dick was the one that filmed when he was down there, and there was a question and answer session between him and Mr. Brill. And Mr. Brill is the one that alluded to it and said, right now we ain't gonna do no finger pointing, let's finish the project and then we're gonna deal with it. No, those involved should be pushed aside, because we fined 10 million already. How much more are we gonna find? You see, in GB, they suspended everybody while they was investigating the hack. Here, clearly 10 million. It's clear as day, 10 million. And nothing happens. Nothing happens. I mean, listen. Last year, I was still in Parliament. And on the 24th of February, 2021, I asked two critical questions when we were discussing PJIA. The first question was regarding the engineering firm that was paid $8.5 million to do the review of the design. You hear what I said, February 2021. The report and the peeling of the paint were done in 2018. So, if this company was paid $8.5 million, Mr. Mingo was one of them that went down and met with these people. He stated it so. How in heaven's name the 10 million is missed? These people were paid $8.5 million to do all these reviews and rechecks, and nothing happens. So on one side you pay $8.5 million, and then you take a lick for another 10. So you're out $18.5 million now. But it goes further. Because in my opinion, this is outright theft. This is planned. This is not just a mistake. It is going around too cool, as if this thing is covered so well. This is not normal. This is not normal. Y'all picked up Mikey Hyman and the other gentleman for peanuts. Here 10 million clearly shows something cooking. Not what's cooking, something cooking. 3 CFOs from Schiphol left. 1 from St. Maarten left. And all is okay. I really don't know anymore what's happening. I really don't know anymore what's happening down there. Then, to my greatest surprise, they thrown out something. They say, hey, we building the FBO building. You know why I say that? Because the FBO building was where the pre-clearance was going to be too. And in 2015, that was stopped by the then government because of who won it. They didn't want to give them the contract. They said it was too expensive and blah, 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 blah. Whatever. But the minister said that the design changes were made for keeping pre-clearance in mind. So where exactly in the airport is this pre-clearance coming now? If this is what we're going to do. So you'd make a change because that the airport can handle 2.5 million people and we're only at 1.5 million. Oh no, we have to go and change it to make it what? 3 million now, 4 million? Man, we can't even handle 1.5 million, 2 million good. You make a bigger airport for more people? You don't even have a bypass. So you have 1 runway. You don't even have a bypass to move it faster. I mean, we are not serious. We cannot be serious when we are talking these things to people. You know, there was a building permit. I asked this question. Mr. Chairman, is there a building permit request sent and or approved for the reconstruction of the airport? I asked such as I have seen some $8.5 million spent on design issues, and that would mean that a permit is needed as you are not building back the same thing. Mr. Chairman, when you see how the FBO building was blocked back in 2015, it was regarding having a building permit in place while you're busy making design changes. In other words, cost overruns will happen. That's exactly what we have here presently, from 107 to 131 million. This was in February 2021. I asked this question. The second question I asked was, can the Parliament be explained why the design done by Corbyn, which was about 90% completed by the end of 2018, was stopped and only recently the bill of quantities was completed for tender? Didn't Corbyn carry out the works correctly? And if no, were they dismissed? And has the airport tried to recuperate monies paid to them and also monies lost due to the delay in the project? You're hearing the dates, right? The end 2018, Mingo came in 2019. He blocked carbon and all that. 2021, I asked this question 2 years later. Cost overruns now, not anymore 131 million, 154 million. So we gone up an additional 23 million. And the contract of Ballast Nadam went up an additional 10 million. Are these things in conflict with the norms of the World Bank? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And if they are not, let the World Bank make the statement. I'm not interested in the management or the board or the government's statement because the crock of shit. Lies, let me put it so. It's a bunch of lies. When people can make 10 million guilders disappear and say it was an oversight, then I got a problem. I know better, and I hope we do better. 2023, what should we expect? Well, 2022 has been a year of much deceit and many shortcomings for the seniors, the less fortunate, and very often even the middle class. So when we look ahead to 2023, we must be able to ask for the following. Will we have a balanced budget? The answer, in my opinion, is still no at this point in time, as the many loans we have, I don't know where they're going. I don't know how they're going to be paid. There is no agreement with the Dutch yet on refinancing or maybe clearing the debt for us. I don't know. But there is nothing, and as such, it is impossible for anybody to say, honestly, right now, yes, we're going to have a balanced budget 2023. It might be the intention, but it is not the reality. And that's why I'm just saying, where are we going? Because the the Kingdom Council of Ministers wants a balanced budget, demanded a balanced budget in 2023. And the IMF said that will never happen until 2026. So we'll see. Might is right. That's how we govern. So we'll see. Will the backlog of the various projects of the NRPB, the World Bank, be completed? I think this would have been a great wish for the many people that have roofs and schools that need to be finalized, the airport, the hospital, Link 6, the landfill. There are so many projects that we would love that they would have been completed, but they are still not completed, and they won't be completed for a while. The airport is now 2024. I'm sure the hospital is also 2024, 2025. Link 6, only God knows what's going to happen there. Hopefully, they'll start building the Marie Laurent School in 2023 and finish most probably in 2024 or so. I don't know no more. I really don't know no more. There's so many strange things happening, I don't know. I don't know. This one got me a little funny. The unpaid liquidity bullet loans of 240 million is something that will haunt us down the road in the kingdom, because at this point in time, as we are closing 2022 and we're going into 2023, we have no clue what's going to happen with the 240 million that we owe. Is it going to be refinanced? What are the rates of refinancing? Because right now the market is horrible. The market is taking off, and we're going to end up most probably with 2.3 up to 4% on interest rates on the market the way it's going, because of the recessions coming. To borrow money, it becomes more expensive. Now, elections will be in 2023. That's factual. The question is, when? It's planned right now for November 2023, so the next 11 months, which means the marriage between the UP and the NA is coming to an end, and everybody gonna start jockeying for position, start blaming each other. So instead of having a productive year, you're going to end up with a year of most probably giveaways, where the government will do what they have to do, in their opinion, try to do what they do best, do how they're accustomed to doing it. I've been there, I've seen that happen over and over. But the real thing isn't going to help the people. The seniors are crying every day. They cannot make ends meet. And when you speak out about it, they tell you, oh, you're wrong, oh, you're this, oh, you're fear-mongering. Look, at the end of the day, no, those seniors, their pensions ain't going up. The monies we are giving them through the AOV is nothing. You can't live from that in St. Maarten. So if a senior is living alone, they can't afford to eat, or they can't afford to pay GB. That's the reality of the story. And we don't have a bag of money to change that right now. We just don't have it. But we are not trying either to make it better for them. We are not trying. We really, really ain't trying. What I have given you all various opportunities. I've told you all quite often, look at this or look at that. Try this or try that. But you don't. You stick to your program, and I understand. That's your prerogative. That's your prerogative. You don't have a governing plan. You all just patch up something. Now you're trying to implement the National Development Plan. I mean, at the end of the day, we had a National Recovery and Resiliency Plan where the trust fund was tied to. We don't have money in our budgets to do anything. We don't even have money for capital expenses. We cut people's salaries because we were told to, otherwise we wouldn't get liquidity. I was there. I saw that ride. And sometimes I wonder if following my conscience was the best thing. But I stand by my vote. I voted it. I'm not going to run and hide now and say the Dutch make me do it. I did it. It was a choice that I had to make, and I made it. It's a choice that I weighed off the pros and cons. It is we that put ourselves in the positions we are in today when it comes to government and the finances of this country. We made mistakes, and the elections of 2023 are going to show what's going to happen. We are going to have most probably, I think, 6, 7 parties. Each party can have 25 candidates. They're going to be vying for 17 seats. So we'll have a lot of people on the list. It's going to be a big, big, big paper. So you might need to have half a sheet of plywood to open the paper and spread it out so you can read the people's name, look which party they're on, and you vote your conscience. And we will see what's going to happen, because the marriage is over. That's crystal clear right now. And I think the party will start in January, February. I just hope we don't have another carnival coup, because we've had 2 or 3 of those already. So let's hope we get something better. We'll also have a referendum next year, I believe. A referendum that's going to deal with independence, or the status quo, or the completion of our autonomy, or whatever other status we so desire. I think it's important that that is held, because that will then be also, if it's binding, it will be the guide for the new government. That's the way we are going as a country. Because having a referendum that's not binding, in my opinion, is wasting taxpayers' money for something you could have read on Facebook. I think we should have a binding referendum and see where we go. And whichever one comes out, that's the one the government is going to have to work with. because that's the people's choice. Will the 12.5% of the civil servants be removed? Will the 25% of the parliamentarians and the ministers be removed? Will these laws be pushed aside in 2023? The way things are going, I doubt it, because now we tied it to slavery, and that ain't happening for a while, so I don't know. What I was missing, though, is what will we be doing when it comes to climate change and alternative energy? What are we doing there? Because I haven't heard nothing, but maybe the government can invest in a capital project and get that solar energy that GB was supposed to do since 2014 up and running. Maybe we can put some solar panels on school roofs or the airport's roof, or homes that want to participate. Again, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things that can be done, and investments can be made through capital investment. Capital investment is going to be a loan you have to take. You ain't getting that money for free. It's a loan you're going to have to take. But again, if you do it in collaboration with NVGB, I want to believe that we can slowly but surely go into the right direction. We don't need to change our energy plan, energy policy. We don't need to change our electricity concessions. Those things are there. They are written in the concession already since 2010. So there's a lot that can be done and should be done. So I just really hope that government thinks about this, looks at this, and then maybe even look at windmills, a few windmills on the eastern flank of the island, so on the Simbat side. Why do I say that? Because there have been studies done by KEMA about 10 years ago showing that the wind consistency out of the northeast is so significant that windmills can run there easily and power up a good part of this country. So things can be done, and we can become much more self-reliant when it comes to these things. I know we have partners, local distributors in St. Maarten, that are doing a lot in solar energy right now. Maybe we can partner with them, or we can partner with a group that is willing to make the investments once GB is involved and fully on board. I think there's a lot of possibilities. I think there are enough studies that have been done regarding such. All of the smart grid, etc. All of these things can tie in, but somebody needs to have the authority to take the lead and execute it, and not keep having discussions about it, because that's where it goes wrong. We talk too much, we act too little. In 2023, if agriculture does not take its rightful place in the budget and the community of St. Maarten, I hope we stop talking about it. Agriculture needs to be given two things: money, significant money, and land. We have the expertise. We have enough people here that can do a lot. I don't have an issue in having a working relationship with professionals when it comes to technology, latest technologies, etc., with agriculture, fisheries. We always talk about food, sustainability, etc., but we don't do nothing about it. We honestly don't do nothing about it. So I truly hope, because we haven't seen budget 2023 yet, that there's 10 million allocated someplace for agriculture, so that people like Maurits, Richardson, Jocelyn, Denisio Wyatt, Ras Bushman, Shola, and all the others, all the home gardens, the school gardens, the community gardens, that there is something that we can work towards, that we take what we have and we go with that. At least that way, things will work. And I know for the seniors, the monkeys that were troubling you, I was happy after I had a little talk about it that the Nature Foundation came out with a article where the government has agreed to go along, going with taking care of monkeys and putting them down, actually trapping them and putting them down. I think the numbers are not 4 something, but in the thousands by now. I mean, just up there by the prison alone, they got hundreds of them up there every day. And I know they don't have no border checks in the hills, so you know those monkeys going from side to side in the island. So I hope there's a little discussion with the French partners and see how we can deal with that also. I think there's money that we can use from the Enterprise Support Program, the ESP, for agriculture. There's millions of dollars not used. And I hope that the steering committee can have a discussion with the government and make these funds available through a co-op. And the co-op can then work with the people in that field so that the development of agriculture can take off and move forward. You know, there are so many things that we can do, but again, we don't do. We come out and we say we're going to do, and then we don't do, and we find different reasons why we shouldn't do it. But again, like I said, the seniors, what happens to them? The tax reform, stop taxing their pension. This is something that I know with a swipe of the pen it can be done. Minister, 2023, you think we can do something? I mean, all of us have mothers, fathers, aunties, uncles that are seniors, that are pension carriers, and they suffer every month. I truly hope that something good will come from it. That the livable wage, when the SER gives it to the government, that at least the seniors who are not able to work anymore and shouldn't be forced to live in poverty in this country, that their pensions will at least match the livable wage. That their AOV out caring should match the livable wage. Because if they don't do that, then we have too big a problem in this country at the end of the day. I hope that we work towards fixing that for the seniors and we do something. Trust. Is that something we earn or we buy? Now you might find that strange that I asked that, but in St. Maarten, many voters, do they trust us or do we just buy their trust with promises, gifts, or even money? It's these sort of statements that also fuel the fight to remove the curtains. Because do voters trust the electorate? Do voters trust politicians? Do voters trust their governments? When you see the behavior in government sometimes, and you hear the voters speaking on radio programs, on Facebook, you must ask yourself the question, do voters trust the government? Yes or no? Do we trust justice? Or do we just accept what happens as we cannot afford to pay for fair play in the courthouse? Now, what do I mean with this? In the Netherlands, if a trial, let me rephrase. In the Netherlands, if a suspect is accused of a crime that carries a punishment larger than 1 year, he will automatically be tried in first instance by 3 judges. Not 1, 3, because his sentence is over a year. Now what happens here in the Dutch Caribbean, what happens in St. Maarten, Curaçao, Aruba, and all these places? We have 1 judge. You know why? Because we can't afford to pay for 3. So because we don't have the money to pay for 3 judges to sit and listen to a case where the punishment is more than a year, we must only take 1. But we are equal. Justice is not equal in the kingdom then. If, because of money, it decides how many judges are going to sit, already we have a problem that some people can't afford a lawyer to defend themselves properly. Some people don't understand the language, so they can't defend themselves properly. They are subject to a interpreter to tell them what they said. These are things that you have to ask yourself, do I trust justice or can I buy justice? This is the reality that we find ourselves in today's world. If we change things in the kingdom, then why don't we change it equally for all? Just food for thought. Because in 2023, these things have to change. We cannot continue living in a world like this. Do we trust our educators? Or do we just settle for what we get as we have nothing better to offer or pay for? It's a statement again like this, and the education system totals evaluation that needs to be addressed sooner than later. It is the maneuvering of the minister and things that you read in the media that keep throwing monkey wrenches into what's happening. Does the education system tie into our economic and labor needs? That question needs to be answered. But in my opinion, the answer is no. It's not good enough. Do we prepare our students enough to truly be effective on their jobs? Again, I think NEPA does a great job in the second chance education because you don't reach there right away. Kids that roll out of MPC Academy, Dominique, FAPT, the Vocational Training School, can they roll into the market and be effective? I don't know. Is there a study that has been done to show this? I don't think so. And these are the problems that we need to pay attention to because it hurts this country severely. And again, look, I have nothing bad to say about an educator. My mother was one for 48 years. And I know the love she had for the education. And I know the flaws she saw in education. Teachers, nurses, and police officers are a very special breed of people. Those are people that put their lives before yours. They put their lives to save yours, to make yours better, to educate you. These are people where kindness is part of their character, where integrity is part of their framework. That's how it is. So we need to understand what's happening in the education system. I'm not going to blame nobody, I'm going to point the fingers. But not enough is being said, not enough is being shown. And every time a discussion breaks out, you hear the word data not being available. But when will data be available? We just did a whole review in accordance to the country packages about the education system. So what rolled out of that? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? Do we trust our medical team, or do we just accept what we get for what we pay? Again, we have saved about 90% of traveling abroad because we now have rotating specialists in St. Maarten coming to the island and working at our hospital. I believe this is a great thing. This is one of listen, when you are paying 40-something million guilders every year to send people abroad, and now you can save 90% of that, I think you're doing wonderful, and I really applaud that. But we got to get that hospital up and running. We really got to get the beds. We need the beds. And I really think that we can. But the way things are happening sometimes, again, like I said, we leave too much to the imagination of people. But remember, trust is something you must earn, and you should not be able to buy it. But in today's world, the norms don't truly exist anymore, especially here in St. Maarten. Let me go into my closing remarks today. In my talks today, and I'm sure in the future there's lots more to be said about independence, referendums, apologies of the past behavior, and equality in our kingdom. But that will most probably find its place in 2023 if we all act mature and deal with the people's business and not our own wishes and arrogance. I enjoyed an article of Mr. Simmons, What About Us?, in the Daily Herald of Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, as it spoke about the constant negativity that the opposition throws out against the government for every little thing. In the same article, Mr. Simmons stated that politics and integrity don't go hand in hand, as the amount of lies being told to the community isn't normal either. When a government takes the stand that information is power and might is right, I agree with the title, What About Us? The Parliament's job, be it in opposition or coalition, is to take care of the people's business and not their own political business. We have seen in our justice system, we aren't afforded the equal treatment when it comes to trials in first instance when a possible prison sentence is more than 1 year. While we are in one kingdom, but it's based on what you can afford. So equality, justice, and fair play has a price. If you cannot afford it, you will pay the price. We have seen that until this day, we are coping with very serious and disturbing facts about racism in our kingdom. Just a few years ago, the government resigned because of the systemic racial abuse with the Toeslagen affair at the tax office that caused serious damages to some 30,000 ethnic families in the Netherlands. Today, 2022, we have encountered it at Home Affairs ministries, which include base at car office, that's functioning here in the country. Will racism ever stop in our kingdom? We speak of equality, but because of the color or ethnic background, we treat many persons different. Do some in the kingdom believe their white race is superior to any other? We are still a far cry from reaching to equality towards each other, but I pray that someday we will. It has come to my attention that once again, while the negotiations have started for the construction of a large project situated in the vicinity of the harbour, that some MPs and even ministers are seeking contracts or something else, and others are being promised contracts or something else. I'm stating this because I believe that the era for these type of things has passed and our country needs to move forward. The many convictions that have already been handed down in our courts regarding these sorts of practices in the harbour seem not to have feared some of these MPs, including one that has already received a conviction to sit time in such a case. When will enough be enough in St. Maarten? Our present coalition of 8 is as strong as the promised construction works at the new project alongside the harbour, and someday we will see in the very near future what that means. as we move closer towards the big day for many kids, seniors, and all of us, Christmas Day, we will have wishes that we hope will be fulfilled. Naturally, for kids, it's mostly gifts, while seniors are wishing for their health and longevity of life, while many others worry about money problems and how to solve that, just to name a few things. But I believe that while many of us cannot always get what we wish for, we can be kind to our brothers and sisters. We can share what we have so all can have a meal for Christmas. And most importantly, I believe we can all share the joy of love to each and every one during the Christmas season. This past weekend, I enjoyed going around with the Leo Club, the Alpha Leo Club of St. Maarten, where we gave out some 40 to 50 baskets to people that needed a little extra help for the Christmas. Let me wish everyone seasonal greetings, a Merry Christmas and a most wonderful New Year 2023 from my entire family and me. And we will meet back in 2023 as this is the last podcast for 2022. It was my honor and my pleasure talking to you all during my Monday morning What's Cooking St. Maarten, a chat with MP Camper. I want you all to have a wonderful day, a great week. Take care of yourself, and remember, Christmas is not only about gifts. Christmas is about the joy of sharing your love with your family members and showing kindness to all mankind. Have a wonderful Christmas, a prosperous New Year's. Bunks is out. Till next year.